We'll be with you every step of the way. These were David Cameron's words of support for the Afghan President Ashraf Ghani in London today at a conference on Afghanistan's future. The Prime Minister gave his strongest indication yet of sticking to his commitment to spend 0.7% of GDP on foreign aid. There were no new pledges for Afghanistan today, though, as our Foreign Affairs correspondent Jonathan Rugman reports, the country will need foreign help long after the troops have gone.
He's head of one of the world's most unstable countries, and today it was Ashraf Ghani's job to show his Western backers that he can govern it, and that the deaths of over 3,000 foreign troops were in the service of a safer, better nation.
Let us assure their parents and their loved ones that their sacrifice is not going to be in vain, the way the immense sacrifice of our children, our youth, our civilians and our military is not going to be in vain.
Britain's aid budget, £170 million a year for Afghanistan, also not in vain, suggested David Cameron, who was asked if it should be cut.
The aid payments that we make, keeping a commitment that we made in our election manifesto and to the poorest people in the world, is an important part of keeping us safe and secure here in the United Kingdom. When we make these commitments, we should keep these commitments. And that is exactly what we'll do.
The aid still heading in then, but British troops have headed home. Until October, Camp Bastion was the biggest British base since the Second World War, and this upcoming Channel 4 documentary shows how it was shut. Just 300 British troops are joining the NATO force staying in Afghanistan, and according to a former senior diplomat, that isn't enough.
The Brits are not really stepping up to the plate, I think, in sufficient numbers. And there needs to be a continuation of development aid, on a declining path, no doubt. But as I say, it would be disastrous if Afghanistan simply fell off an aid cliff, because there's huge needs out there in the population, both development and humanitarian.
The figures are startling. NATO had 140,000 troops there in 2011. That will have fallen to about 12,000 by the end of this year. And violence is at its highest level since 2001. Afghanistan's annual budget is £4.8 billion, with almost two-thirds of that dependent on foreign assistance. And 7.4 million Afghans, about a quarter, are in need of aid to survive. Conspicuous by their absence here are the Taliban, who weren't invited and who are busy ramping up the fighting on the ground, no doubt hoping to break the will of this new government and its armed forces. And it's only if the government survives that the Taliban might conclude that the time has come for the fighting to stop and for meaningful peace talks to begin. The good news, more girls in school than ever, over 2.5 million of them. The first democratic transition of power happened this year, and the President is promising a break with the past.
If there is any sense that the state is about to collapse because of security, that's an illusion.
But can Afghan troops really keep the Taliban sufficiently at bay for this new government to survive? And how long will foreign governments keep to their aid commitments when their troops have gone and public interest has shifted elsewhere?